Anthony,
Here.
Francisco,
Present.
Sam, Esperanza,
I'm here.
Tina Delora. What a drag. I hate that. I hate dental pain. Levy,
Here.
first one here, Levy. Brian. Brian Maya? Yeah, is that Brian Basulto? Is that, oh no, that's Brianna, that's Brianna, sorry. So Brianna's here, okay. Brian Maya?
Yeah, here.
Okay, oh yeah. Fernando. Oh, Fernando. Do we know is Fernando, Monica, is he out?
I think he must have dropped. He never came back. So he's been gone for like 2 weeks now. So I think he may have dropped.
Okay. Yakub. Yakub? No, you're here. I saw you. Yakub. Lionel.
Here.
Gerardo.
Right here.
Israel.
Right here.
As Yasmin.
Here, good morning.
Good morning. Hector. See if Hector's texted me. Nope. Okay, so did Carla? Carla show up? Nope.
I think she said she's having computer problems, so she's going to be a few minutes late.
Okay.
Carla.
Sam? Right here from Sam. And Fernando is not coming in. Hector, we don't have Hector. Okay.
Oh, no, 22. Yeah, 26.
I'm here too. You didn't.
I'm sorry, who's?
Yakub. You never mentioned my name.
Yeah, I actually did twice.
You
Two
did?
times. Yeah, I did.
No, but
And
I'm here.
You must have
Sorry.
stepped away or something.
The
and I
internet,
saw-
the internet today is very bad. It's logging me out, and same thing is happening. So I thought you
Okay.
didn't mention my name. I'm here.
I got you. And Yakub, I got you even before you chimed in.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'll read the first part of our safety meeting topic this morning, which is hand protection. Introduction. Hands are extremely important part of your body, not only while working, but in your personal life as well. Hands are utilized constantly in many different fields and can be injured in a variety of ways. It's estimated the injuries to the hands, account for 20% of workplace injuries, second only to back injuries. I'm going to work from the bottom up. Hector, are you here? Did you come in? Okay, Yasmin, could you read for us, please? Gloves.
Gloves should be, sorry. Gloves should be kept clean and in a good condition. They should be also in good repair and replaced when damaged. Gloves are required when working around the following: rough surfaces, corrosive chemicals, sharp instruments, other materials that may cause harm. Gloves should not be worn while operating certain machinery because they can be caught and cause injuries to the hand. These machines include, but are not limited to, saws, grinders, drills, any machines with rotating part.
Okay, stop right there, and I'm gonna jump in and comment. I like wearing gloves a lot, especially with when I'm using rougher woods. Protects me from splinters and from dinging up my hands because I'm older and my blood's thin. And my skin is thinning out. I have a tendency to get dinged pretty easily, bruised pretty easily. So I like to wear gloves, and I definitely like to wear them with grinders because you got all kinds of sparks and chips flying, especially if you're grinding metal. That's where the sparks come in. So always when I'm pushing through material that has splinters, I really like to wear gloves, and drills not so much. But so if your gloves fit tight, you should be fine with gloves. That's my 2 cents worth on that. And housekeeping procedures. How about next one up here is Israel.
Housekeeping procedures. A safe work environment is much easier to maintain when good housekeeping procedures are practiced. The following should be remembered. Work areas should be kept clean and maintained in an orderly fashion.
Good.
Sharp instruments should be put away properly when not in use. Hands should be thoroughly washed with soap and warm water to eliminate bacteria. Be careful where you put your hands, especially when putting stuff in trash cans.
That's a really good point. Okay, how about safe work practices? Well, it looks like that guy got a bad palm injury there. Gerardo. Gerardo, can you read that for us? Can you see it on your, are you working off a phone? Can you see it?
Okay, I can see it.
Okay.
Safety work practices, rings, watches, and bracelets should not be worn when working around machinery. Double check it to make sure that all guards are in place and secure before operating machinery. Don't try to force the machine to work outside of its normal function. Guards are in place for your protection. Do not reach through the guards for any reason.
All right, and I'll read the conclusion. Hand safety is a very important element to overall workplace safety. These guidelines have been established to ensure the safety of employees. Following these guidelines and safe work practices will help ensure a safe work environment. So do we have any comments or questions about this? About hand safety? I think everybody agrees that hand safety is a pretty important topic. You do a lot
It
of
is.
things with your hands, right? I'm sorry, Gerardo, did you have a?
No,
No. So
just be careful.
yeah, be careful. I don't know if I told you about this, but I ran that finger through the table saw right there, right down to that depth. And it was a drag. I was looking at the end of my bone, at the end of the bone on the end of my finger, and it was not fun. So I wasn't practicing good hand safety at the time. And I think if I had had gloves on, I don't know if I'd have been better off or not, but it was a table saw injury, and table saws are extremely dangerous. So we have these safety meetings because if you're in the construction trade and you're working for a bona fide and licensed contractor, then you are, your licensed contractor has workers' compensation insurance, and his insurance carrier, as all insurance carriers do, require construction companies to have tailgate safety meetings every 10 working days. You've got to have a topic and talk about safety, and everybody's got to sign in. I used to, in my face-to-face classes, when we do safety meetings, have everybody sign in, just like at work. But,
Hey, Rod, I have a question. Is that strictly the tailgate safety meetings only for licensed contractors, or is that for other different professions within the construction trade?
as far as I know, Francisco, it's only it's only contractors in the building trades. Trying to think of other contractors. I think it's, I'll see if I can get a better answer to your question, but as far as I know, it's just building contractors that are licensed by the CSLB, right? California License, State License Board, CSLB, California State License Board, that are required to have tailgate safety meetings and are also required to have workers' comp. So when you get a contractor's license, you have two options to make your license be enforced. And the first option is to provide a certificate from an insurance company that says you are covered by workers' compensation and your employees are covered by workers' compensation. The other option you have is you can file a waiver. I'm not sure if it's a waiver anyway, if a waiver is the proper word, but you can file with the CSLB that it's just you and you have no employees. And then you can get your license and you don't have to have employees. But if you do have employees and you have any kind of a payroll, and you don't have workers' compensation insurance, you can get in some pretty big trouble with the CSLB for one thing, for sure. So hope that answered your question.
Yes,
But I
thank
haven't
you.
heard of tailgate safety meetings for any other trades other than the construction trades. Anybody else have any questions? Any questions at all? Monica, you look like you have a question.
Yesterday, we saw speaking about gloves and hand safety, yesterday, Patrick showed us some gloves that have like the 3 fingers out. Like they're cut specifically so that you can use your fingers. So I don't know have you ever used those before? Or what do you think about those kind of gloves?
Only on my motorcycle and on my bicycle, fingerless gloves, but no,
Yeah.
I haven't, because I want my fingers to be protected too. So, but there's plenty of tactile things that happen with tooling and with working where gloves just aren't cutting it. And, vinyl gloves, the throwaway gloves, they're okay to a certain extent, but they don't protect you from much. They tear pretty easily. But yeah, no, I haven't. I think it's personal preference. And if I saw somebody in my shop using a tool like a table saw and wearing gloves, pushing stuff to the saw, I don't think I'd jam him on it. I would want him to protect his hands. I haven't seen anybody. And I've seen guys get these 3 fingers cut off on a table saw. I've seen some pretty horrible injuries. I've seen thighs cut with skill saws. I've seen guys fall 3 stories and land on rebar. I've seen a lot of horrible accidents, and none of them were involved in gloves or rings or anything like that. So you got to kind of take some of this stuff with a grain of salt. Anybody else? Questions, comments about safety meetings or safety in general? And do y'all remember my definition of safety? Can somebody remember it? Anybody want to chime in? Has a memory of it? Okay, my definition of safety is being aware of myself, and my body, and all my physicalness, everything that's part of me, aware of it and its relationship to everything else. So I want to keep myself away from things that I shouldn't be touching and only touch the things I should and want to be touching. And then I'm going to remain pretty safe. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Okay, so Brianna's here. Anthony's here. So, okay, Brianna came, and I'll just pause for a second. Carla, did you show up? Do I see Carla? No? Sam, did you make it? And Fernando and Hector. No Hector. Okay. Okay, so that's our where am I at here? Okay. Okay, let's get out of that. Let's go back. So a couple of things I wanted to share with you today on 4.8. But one is this right here. And then I want to do my emails and glance, yeah. So do any of you know what Simpson strong tie is? All right, I'm going to explain a little bit. I just putting this in kind of as an aside. I wasn't planning to talk about it. It's not really a finished carpentry item, although there are things that Simpson makes that are germane, that we do use in finished carpentry. Mostly they're for rough and framing carpentry. I get their news in my email, so I decided to put this in here. I'm sorry, I just tell you that Simpson Strong Tie, if you don't know who they are, they're a company that makes construction hardware. And they make hold downs, they make hangers, they make column caps, they make column bases, they make straps, they have a catalog. They have a very thick catalog, like a 1-inch thick catalog, a paper catalog, as well as an online catalog. But their paper catalog's pretty thick, and they make construction hardware, fasteners. So one of their newest items, this has been out about maybe 5 years. The thing about Simpson is you will find that Simpson is called out. So see if I could bring up a plan. At some point, I'll try to bring up a plan. Wait, what's this? What's happening here? Due to inactivity, oh, pipeline. Yeah, shoot, okay. So where the heck was I? I wanted to tell you, I wanted you to get the significance of Strong Tie. So
You're gonna say they were in the news, or they were something about Simpson
no,
Strong Tie?
what I want to tell you about Simpson is if I can remember, I'll grab a set of plans out of my car. Simpson is a private company, right? It's not a public, well, it's publicly traded, but it's a company, and they have gotten themselves in the enviable position of being called out or specified in most plans. I would say all plans that come across my desk. If you go to the framing page or the foundation page, you're going to see a call out, and a call out on the plans means it's specified on the plans that you need to use this specific item. And the thing that I'm thinking the most of, although there are call outs all throughout the framing and foundation part of the plans, the call out Simpson products, but you'll see in all your foundation plans, you're going to see HUDs. So HUDs are hold downs, or HDs, sometimes they're called HDs. HD 2s, 4s, 6s, and even 8s. And those are seismic hold downs, and they're on every plan. And they're made by Simpson. Somebody else, there might be another hardware manufacturer that makes them, but Simpson's the one that called out. So they really have a corner on the market. They're a great company. They come here to my class. I've had them here twice. They bring nice swag. They do hands out T-shirts and stuff like that. And they show a really nice video, a really interesting video, I mean, where they build in their warehouse or factory, they build this three-story house is built full of all their connectors, and then they shake it. It's built on a platform, and then they shake it to approximate the biggest earthquake that's ever been recorded. And then they gauge and measure what happens to the connections, the building connections. So all of their connections are tried and true through this thing that they've made to simulate earthquakes. It's pretty darn interesting, to tell you the truth. So
Are those screws the ones that just get drilled into the concrete?
yes, that's exactly what they are, Francisco. And they're their new Titan, T-I-T-E-N. So these screws are called out a lot as it's totally acceptable to bolt a plate down to the concrete. Engineers like them. They require a pilot hole, and then you drive them. This has a Torx head, that's T-O-R-X. That's a particular driver head. We'll talk about that a little as we get into drill bits, I think. Yeah, today we'll, oh shoot. I left my, I had my drill bag with a bunch of bits in it, and I had it here for you on Tuesday, and I took it out of my car. But anyway, that's a Torx head right there, and I'm gonna see if I can't blow it up so you can see it a little bit closer. Let's see, can I blow this up? No, let's try, we'll try this. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so if you look, that's a Torx head. So it's a 6 it's a 6-faceted driver that goes into that recess. So it has 6 points of contact. So it's a very positive contact. It's also small. It's not big like a big slot, which is very slippery. Your slot head slips off a lot, your driver bits. These bits lock in there pretty tight, and they allow you to put a whole lot of torque. Okay, let's get this back to some kind of a semi-normal size. Anyway, there's Titans, and they've just come out with one with a washer head, so you don't have to use them with a washer. And yes, I think it was Francisco mentioned that you bore a particular size hole, and then you drive this Titan screw in, and it's case hardened, and it cuts its own thread. So there's the heavy duty screw anchor, high strength screw using cracked and uncracked as well as masonry, washer head, minimal. So that's a very small head. The ones that I have been using on plates have a much bigger head. Comes in 1/2 inch and 5/8, which are acceptable diameters for bolting down plates. Okay, so it's a carbon steel. So it's not a high test. It's carbon steel. Okay, so a 5/8 Titan takes a 5/8 1/2 inch drill. Wow. And then you got to over drill by 1/2 inch. So all of these things from Simpson are available online. If you go to simpson.com, you can scroll through their catalog. They also have strong walls now. Strong walls are a part of construction. Again, this is getting more into the framing part, but I thought you might find it interesting because I don't know if Patrick's talked to you about Simpson, but Simpson products are something that you will come in contact with a lot if you build. And shear walls are really big now, especially for garages. On either side of they're using them pretty much exclusively for either side of columns, for either side of a garage opening. And the reason for that is garage openings are very, very large, right? So in a 20-foot building, you might have a 16-foot opening across the front. Now the opening is headed off with a properly sized header above the opening, which is carried by the king stud and the trimmers to support that header. And then that header supports the weight above, the cripple wall, the roof, or whatever it's supporting above. But it doesn't provide shear. So when you have a 20-foot wall with a 16-foot opening and only 2 foot each side for shear, you have a wall that could rack. And what I mean by rack is I'm going to stop the share for a second and pin myself. And so if you could picture shear is what keeps walls from going like this. So when you've got a 16-foot wide opening and then just 2 foot of wall, the header supports, the roof weight, but it doesn't provide much, if any, shear. So these Simpson strong walls act as columns either side of the opening, and they provide a ton of shear because they're engineered to do exactly that.
Hey, Rodney, do you have still readily accessible? I'm not sure whether it was a video or a page that showed the titles to all the different studs, and
I do. Do you want to see that?
yeah, I'd like to take some notes on that.
Yeah, well, let's do that. Let's go to let's go, let's see, let's get out of there. Get out of there. We'll go here. Nope, we don't want to go there. We want to go here.
But what material is this shear wall? Is it wood or is it steel or what is it made of?
Monica, hold that thought. I'm going to circle
Okay.
back to it because I want to
Okay.
show you the shear wall, but I want to go and answer Francisco's question. But it's made out of particle board and metal. And I wanted to show you something specific about it, but like I said, I'm going to circle back, but I want to show I want to show, I'm going to answer Francisco's question. So let's see, I think that's, what is that? Yeah, so let's go to wall and ceiling framing. All right.
Oh, there it is.
So is this what you were thinking about, Francisco?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
So here,
exactly.
here are an exact, and I'll see if I can make this bigger for you, so people can see it bigger. Okay. All right. Yeah, too big. Okay. Yeah, corner post, top plate, of which, by the way, they're showing a single top plate here. Pretty much in California frame, the way we frame with a double top plate. And if Patrick didn't go over that with you, the single top plate, you know, it captures all the studs at the top. And then the double top plate locks in the intersecting walls. And if you have, if you're not seeing that, or if you're confused by that, ask me later and I'll draw it for you on the board. Okay, so any opening has some components. It has a header, which amazingly enough, there you go, header, or sometimes called lintel back east. It has king studs, which flank the header and nail through the king stud into the header, help support it, cripple studs above, and then the trimmer studs go right against the king stud, right below the header, and the trimmer studs are what hold up essentially the header. And when I frame, or when we frame, what we used to like to do is we would like to put just one nail in a few places in our trimmers and leave them loose and almost floating, so that the finish carpenters could plumb up the trimmer studs so their opening would be as plumb as possible and they could nail their hinge side tight to their hinge side trimmer stud. And if you're not following that, when I get into hanging doors and putting jambs into openings, it'll make more sense to you. But again, same thing on the windows. Header, king stud, in the case runs plate to plate. Typically king studs run plate to plate, and the header is nailed through the king stud into the header, and then the trimmer stud supports the header, goes against the king stud, supports the header. Rough sill, we usually use 2 rough sills, a double rough sill. These are common studs, and then you have intersection for frame. There's a couple of ways to do intersections for framing. This is one way, and there are more than a couple of ways. There's 3 or 4 ways to do corners, and I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm going to flip back to.
Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Yeah, and ask away, because I've got access to the textbook, and we're going to do that, some of that today. We're going to go through. They have flashcards. They have a lot of really good info on the textbook, and I haven't used it with you guys yet, but I plan to today. Now, where the heck was I? Okay, where was it? I guess I got out of Simpson. Oh, all right. I got to remember where the heck I am half the time. More than half the time, more than half the time, if the truth be told. Okay, Simpson strong tie, there we go. Yeah, I thought you might find this interesting. And if you guys Google, guys and gals, want to Google Simpson, you'll find out a whole bunch of stuff. But let's look at this shear wall. That provides shear as a column. That's what they look like, Monica, to answer your question. So they are made of particle board. Nope, that didn't. I thought that would take me back. Product details. Let's look at a drawing. Huh, interesting. Well, let's just see what let's see what it looks like, just for the heck of it. Wow. So there's some pretty technical drawings of, okay. No, thank you. Oh, all right, I guess I did have to do that. All right, I'm gonna back out of that and scroll down. So Simpson strong walls used not just in garages, but used in places where they want to add shear. Now Simpson in the last maybe 5 years has come out making structural steel moment frames. So they're now making a lot of steel pieces that are not custom, although they will make custom moment frames and they will make custom metal framing, but their stuff is mostly bolts together. Let's just see what this is, just for the heck of it. Oh, this is a yield link. Interesting. Okay. Oh, I guess I got to agree. Huh, doesn't like it for some reason. Wonder why. Maybe it doesn't like full screen.
Trust. What is it? That indefinable thing. Something that is earned and built over time. At Simpson Strong-Tie, we have spent the last 60 years building trust through strength, engineering, and deep partnerships, forging a heritage of innovation in connection. Listed solutions. Take our stainless steel Titan HD screw anchor.
Okay, so there's that anchor right there. Now, see what I mean though? Before they came on with the washer head, they had this big old head. So I guess they got some people that wanted a lower profile head, but the screw hasn't changed. And these are stainless and these are proprietary. So Simpson invented these. That's what proprietary means.
Its proprietary bimetal design set the new standard for installation in corrosive environments. Or our load-tested strong.
So I've got some videos. I don't know if I'll ever have a chance to show you though. I've been making videos for my Saturday lab class and on different job sites. But one of the first videos I made is on a really unbelievable house right on the water at Sandyland Cove. And because of its proximity to the ocean, it has a whole lot of things that are different than most buildings. One thing is everything is stainless steel. So there's no screws that aren't stainless steel, all stainless steel. So, which is, can be 2 or 3 times the cost of regular steel when you're buying fasteners.
Drive XL metal screw, cutting installation costs by eliminating the need for welding. And our strong frame special moment frame with patented yield link structural fuses that are the most efficient and cost effective on the market. But we didn't stop there. We innovated on our yield link technology to meet the needs of structural steel construction. We increased the size and strength of the yield links and the number of bolted connections to make them ideal for structural steel construction. To prove the yield link's ability to perform in structural steel, we subjected our prototype to the most comprehensive and rigorous testing in the industry. In our full-scale frame testing, the yield link successfully absorbed seismic energy while keeping beams and columns intact. The test after. So
there's that thing I was mentioning to you.
Keeping beams and columns.
So that house, this is probably in the same warehouse or similar to, where they build a 3-story house and they shake it, but they do. This is kind of like this thing. They have unbelievable testing.
Intact. And test after test after test. Now ready for production. We manufacture our structural steel yield link at the highest industry standard using a state-of-the-art plasma cutting system. Finally, by fabricating our structural fuses from a single hot-rolled piece of steel, we meet the tough scheduling and cost demands of the industry. At the end of the day, our success is measured by yours. So whether you're a designer, contractor, fabricator, or erector, our goal is to engineer cutting-edge solutions that exceed your expectations and earn your trust.
All right, well, you did it. You earned my trust and you exceeded my expectations. So they're now into the structural steel business too, which is a pretty incredible one. And then now this is interesting. I haven't seen this. Adding strength to window and door jamb assemblies with a head of wall drift clip. Oh my gosh. So I don't even want to get into that because I don't even know what they're talking about. But pergolas. Now here's something that a Finnish carpenter would get into. They have pergola planner software. So you want to plan a pergola, you can launch their software and play around with it. This is all free and available.
Yaku,
Say again?
Yaku wants to maybe, build an outdoor thing for his rug shop. So Yaku, you might want to look at that maybe for a
Yeah.
covering pergola over.
Yeah, you talk to me about that at some point, Jakub. And do you have
Yes.
some kind of a plan? Because really a plan is where you want to start. A plan, and we can talk about that. And I plan to talk a little bit about plans to you guys before we part company forever, but not today. But yeah, this could be something, this could be, you could make it all out of Simpson connectors. There's a variety of ways to make small buildings, including there's a lot of, I find in my life that almost all the time, if I want something, I look to see if someone's manufactured it, right? So for instance, moldings. There are, I showed you some things out of a molding catalog a little while ago, and there are a lot of moldings. And there are some older moldings that are built up, multiple piece moldings. There are some moldings that they're not common. They were made perhaps common at the time, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, and you need to match them. For instance, we did a job for Danny Elfman, Oingo Boingo, Danny Elfman, and Bridget Fonda. They're a couple. And among other things, they have a house in Oak Ranch, and they had a library, an existing library, and we were adding on to it to this big family room, but the paneling in the existing library was all this African mahogany, beautiful solid raised panel wainscoting. And then, yeah, I think it was just a wainscot panel. I think. Can't remember if it's paneling above, but at any rate, and the new addition, the opening wrap, this big pocket door opening, and then that paneling wrapped forever. And the panel detail and some of the moldings, two of the moldings specifically, were not available. In other words, nobody's making them now. So we had to make them. So we had to take my profile gauge, which I showed you early on, and make a profile of that existing molding. And then we drew that out and we sent it to steel fabricators, and we had knives ground, and we made our own moldings to match. So as you can well imagine, those moldings cost a little bit more than just getting them out of a catalog. And I mean, typically a molding that I can buy out of a catalog for $1, depending upon how much I've got to make, it's going to cost me considerably more. And the more molding you make, the costs are absorbed, right? So if you take if my knives cost me $300 to make the knives, that I had ground to make this particular antique shape of molding, right there is a $300 charge. So, if it's 10 feet of molding, that's $30 a foot. That's not for the material. That's just for the knives. That's not for the labor either. If it's 1,000 feet of molding, then that gets into more like 30 cents a foot or 3 cents a foot. So the more molding, the less the cost if you have to go custom. But anytime you can buy anything, a Simpson strong wall. So if you've got to make a strong column, a shear column, it's going to cost you more than going and buying one. So if somebody's made it, that means they've done the R&D on it, the research and development. They've hopefully got the bugs out of it, and they're manufacturing it in quantity, which means they can sell it for a good cost. That's economics 101. Did Patrick get all squared away with you guys yesterday? Was he able to get the views that he wanted? Good, good.
Yeah, he did a good job. He was apologizing for it being kind of shaky the first time he was in there, but he did a good job of like moving the camera over to the saws and.
I don't know if you guys know much about Patrick Foster, but he started this program. Did you guys know that? This program, the construction tech program at City College, did not exist until Patrick. And so I got on board 2 years after Patrick started the program. But the whole program is Patrick. Patrick has probably forgotten more than most people I know. And he's also Dr. Foster. Did you know that? Yeah, he's Dr. Foster. He's a PhD. Now, if I was a PhD, I'd be doctorate, but I'm not. So, but he's a very humble, incredible guy. Pat, I love Patrick in a gladiator sort of way. I've got 46 or 44 minutes after, actually, yeah. We're gonna break for 11 minutes until 5 until 10. So I'll see you back here at 5 until 10, okay? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hey, sorry. I got involved in grabbing tools and stuff. So we're back. And I didn't pause recording. So would somebody volunteer to remind me to pause recording when we break?
I'll try to remember. Let's see.
Thanks. And somebody help Monica try to remember too.
Yeah, if somebody can remind me too, in case I forget.
So let's look at, I got a note here too. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to hide the floating meeting controls. Okay, I got a note here. So, all right. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so that I think that's for us. I got some emails that I wanted to share with you guys that have to do with you. Okay, here we go. So Patrick received these requests for construction scholarship. Could you relay these to your classes? Thanks. So what I think I'll do, all right, so here's from Earl Armstrong, no kidding. Huh, I know him. Okay, so if you guys are interested in construction scholarships, then if you wish to further your education in construction related courses at our college or university or a certified apprenticeship program, applications are being accepted all the way up to May 26th. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to forward this whole thing to, are we six? Let's see, what are we? 674.20 to 674.20. And then Monica, I don't know if you're in this or not. Let's see.
No, my email address isn't on there.
Okay, so I'm gonna put you in there too.
Yeah, MN Campbell. Sorry.
I got you. That's how I sent that last bit. So let's add her too. And I can spell, I promise, and type. Scholarships. Okay, so you guys have that. What you do with it is up to you. And if you need help or advice, ask one of us, ask any of us, ask me, ask Pat, ask Monica, ask Jeanette, ask somebody in the BTW program, and we'll see what we can do for you. But I think it'll be up to you to initiate it. Right, and then we've also got this too. AGC is the Associated General Contractors. It's a pretty big organization nationwide. They're for larger contractors. They are who the apprenticeship programs are through. Let's see. Yeah, I think so. These are different. Okay, so these are for different scholarships. District Construction Scholarship, eligible applicants. So I think you guys are, oh, maybe this is the same one. So multiple recipients are chosen and could receive up to $1,500. Cool. Okay, page not found then. But I'm going to go ahead. I think this is the same thing, but I'm going to send it to you anyway. Okay. Okay. Now let's. Simpson strong tie. I think we did that. All right. We had a safety meeting. I swear, I can never tell how this is going to come up. If it's going to come up in Word or what. All right, so this is where we yesterday we got all the way to. Oh, okay. Yeah, we plunged. We jumped ahead to plunge saw and plunge router, and then I've got a laminate trimmer router I'm going to show you first, and then I'm going to back up. Go back up to belt sanders, orbital sanders, oscillating sanders, biscuit, joining tool or domino, cordless drill driver, cordless impact driver, and a fine type multi-tool. Boy, all those are good stuff. So let's look at a laminate trimmer here. Okay, I gotta get out of here. Okay, they're coming with me. Come this way, please. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Get you untangled a little bit. Pat may be a doctor, but he sure knows how to tangle up cords. All right. So here's a bunch of tools. As you can see, I think I want to make sure I get my head in there. Nope. Sort of. All right. This is a laminate trimmer. There are different bases. Sorry. I need a cameraman. Anybody want to volunteer?
You
Laminate
cover mileage?
Yeah, 54 cents a mile, baby. Just keep a log. Where do you have to come from?
Santa Maria.
Honestly, is that Francisco talking?
Yes.
You're in Santa Maria?
Yeah.
That's why you worked at the Hayward Trust Plant. I thought, wow, that's a long commute if you live in Santa Barbara. Yeah, pay for mileage, for sure. So this is a laminate trimmer. It's a Bosch, which is a great, it's a great brand. They're, you know, they started in Germany. I don't know if they're still made in Germany. I kind of suspect they are. I'm pretty sure they are. Let's see. Nope, they're made in Malaysia. Oh, well, but it's a, you know, it's German engineering. Not that there's anything wrong with being made in Malaysia, but laminate trimmers are routers. Like, remember I showed you that big plunge router, right? Most routers they're either a D-handled router like that one I showed you, the Festo, or they're I forget what you call them, but they have there's a name for them. They have a handle on either side, and they're a little bigger. They're usually started at 1/2 horse. They go to 3/4 horse, go all the way up to 1 horse and above. This is should be a 1/4 horse. No, wow. This is a 1 horsepower. Wow. So I might have been mistaken on the horsepowers of routers. Maybe mine was a 2 horsepower, my Milwaukee. But this is considered a laminate trimmer. It's holdable and operable with one hand. You don't need 2 hands on it. You can do it with one hand. You can switch it on with one hand. It's got a round over bit in it. So a really cool thing about this is it's got a soft start or a magnetic start. So if you listen, it ramps up. It doesn't go right to its full RPM. Hear that? And then it goes up. And that's really designed to put less wear and tear on the motor than going from 0 to 4,500. I don't know what this router turns, but it's got a really comfortable base. It's got a place to hold here for your hand. It's really comfortable where you can see the controls, you can see the bit. It's adjusted. The bit is adjusted like that. Just like that. It turns on this little, I'm going to unplug it. By the way, when you're playing with and adjusting tools and bits and stuff, always unplug them, okay? Always unplug them. It's pretty important. Now that thing's released. I don't know why. Huh. Wow. It's got a very micro adjustment right here. I like that. So as you can tell, I'm not that familiar with this router. I'd have to familiarize myself with it. And I'm doing something wrong because I'm not getting the adjustment I want, but it's a pretty simple adjustment. And it's a laminate trimmer. And what you might be asking yourself, because we just talked about edge bits, what's a laminate trimmer? Does anybody know what a what laminate is, or what we're referring to when we say laminate trimmer? So finished work, especially intermediate finish work, carpenter type stuff. You know, I'm going to talk a little bit about cabinet making at one point, but let's just talk about plastic laminate. Plastic laminate. Does anybody know what plastic laminate is, or what, or another? Can you give me a kind of plastic laminate? Anybody unmute themselves and tell me what they think is a kind of plastic laminate?
I know there's like laminate flooring.
Say it again, please. They are flooring?
Yeah, linoleum. Yeah, linoleum.
Okay, so linoleum is not plastic laminate, but lately, that is in the last 10 years, plastic laminate has been used for flooring. And now it never was. Plastic laminate forever. And I learned, I cut my teeth on working plastic laminate is plastic laminate is Formica. People, it's like Kleenex and tissue, right? Plastic laminate is Formica. Formica is plastic laminate. And the other types, the other brands are Wilsonart, Nevamar, Abbott Laminati, Pionite, and there's probably a half a dozen more that I don't know or that I'm just not coming to mind. But the ones that come to mind right away are Wilsonart and Formica. And the one that comes to mind for just about everybody when you talk about plastic laminate is Formica. So Formica is a brand of plastic laminate. It's a high pressure laminate. It's laminated onto a phenolic back, which is it's a composite material. It's pretty thin. I wish I had a piece here to show you. We don't really have any plastic laminate here, and we don't have a laminate trimmer, but that's plastic laminate. I have chains, and in my old shop, I have three giant boards, one Wilsonart, one Nevamar, one Formica, with all the plastic laminate chips, samples of them. The plastic laminate is laminated to a substrate. So that tabletop, so let's say, what are you going to use plastic laminate for? There are a variety of uses, but let's just say you're going to use it for a countertop. You're going to use it for your desk countertop. And you're gonna lay up a substrate, and that substrate could be plywood. It needs to be sheet good. So let me qualify. In wood and the wood products that we use, the raw materials, that pretty much come in two types of things. Am I recording? I am, right? Two types. There is God, what was I thinking? Oh, sheet goods and solid stock. So two types of materials in wood products. One is sheet goods and one is solid stock. Sheet goods are things like plywood, particle board, MDF, medium density fiberboard. That's plywood, right? Veneer core plywood. So typically, plywood is really veneer core. So it's all a bunch of veneers laid up different angles to each other on a 4x8 sheet, although sheet goods, the standard is 4x8. Baltic birch, which is usually 1/2 inch, comes in 5x5, but your other standards are almost all your 4x8 sheet goods will be available in 4x10s, and in some cases 4x12, and all your particle boards and MDFs are available in 4x10s and 4x12s. They might even have a 4x16, and they have 5x12s as well. Now, one thing to know, so that's plywood, right? That's plywood. As a veneer, it's very light. Now this is also, you consider this, technically it's not a plywood. It's sheet goods. It came out of a piece of 4x8 walnut sheet goods, but its core is MDF, or medium density fiberboard, which is a very stable core. Takes a screw pretty well, although plywood does too, and plywood's lighter. Plywood has a tendency to warp more than sheet goods that are particle board based. They stay flatter. So sheet goods and solid stock. Solid stock is solid wood. So solid wood, vertical grain Doug fir, aka VGDF, vertical grain Doug fir, clear Doug fir. If anybody can identify this wood, I want you to chime in. We're going to have a see if you can identify it. I'll give you a hint. I milled it locally and turned it into a whole
Eucalyptus?
house full of cabinets. And it was from an orchard. I'll even give you more hints. It was from an orchard that burned in the tea fire. 110-year-old orchard, 65 trees were lost. We milled it into this stock. What kind of wood is it? So something else about sheet goods. Something really important about sheet goods. 4x8 is the size of, it's the universal size of sheet goods, plywoods, things that come by the sheet. Particle boards, melamines. By the way, melamine can look a lot like laminate. White melamine is probably what you've seen. There's a lot of it. We use it for the interior of bath cabinets a lot, but it's a low pressure laminate. It's a vinyl. It's very thin. Plastic laminate is thicker. There's 3 grades of plastic laminate. There is vertical grade, plus forming, and countertop grade, all in various thickness. And I think countertop grade is 0.060 in thickness, and the other grades are slightly less in hundredths of an inch. But I digress. Plywood, like your construction grade plywoods, your fir plywoods, birch, maple, all the wood plywoods that are veneer core, like I showed you in that circle, that maple, pre-finished maple circle, they're going to be 48 by 96, which is 4 feet by 8 feet. Your particle boards, melamines, which have a particle board core, and pretty much all of your particle board core sheet goods, like that piece of walnut that I showed you, they're not going to be 48 by 96. They're going to be sold at 32 square feet. They're going to be sold as a 4x8 sheet, but they're not going to be 48 by 96. Does anybody know? Does anybody want to unmute and tell me what they think a sheet measures of particle board or MDF? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Particle boards, MDFs, and I'm pretty sure, I can't tell you for sure, I'm pretty sure the sheet goods that we use for making casework, or the cabinetry boxes are called casework, out of that pre-finished maple plywood. Pretty sure they come that way too, but they come 49 by 97 versus 48 by 96. So 49, 97. Can anybody tell me why? Okay, I'll tell you why. In casework, which is cabinetry, you have some standards, and they are 12s and 24s. 12s and 24s. 12s and 24s. It's a pretty standard. And so upper cabinets are ripped at 12 inches, lower cabinets are ripped at 24 inches. And there's some variables in that, depending upon the system that you use and how you're building your cabinetry. But generally 12s and 24s are increments that we use out of these sheet goods. Now, if I had a 48 by 96 inch sheet, piece of sheet goods, could I get 4 12-inch rips or even 2 24-inch rips? And the answer is no. Even if it's 2 24s out of a 48, well, why can't I get 2 24s out of a 48? Anybody know?
You lose material when you cut?
Exactly. Thank you. The kerf. Remember we've been talking about the kerf? K-E-R-F. Kerf. That's what the saw does when it cuts. It creates a kerf. And so it takes 1/8 of an inch of material. And when you take 1/8 of an inch of material out of a 48-inch sheet, you don't have 2 24s left over. You have 2 23 and 15/16 left over if you cut it exactly down the middle. By the same token, 4 12s, 12, 12, 12, and 12 equals 48, but you've also got 1, 2, 3 kerfs. That's 3/8 of an inch. So you can't get 4 12s. You can get 3 12s and a partial 12, which doesn't do you any good. You can get 1 24 and a partial 24, which doesn't do you any good. So sheet goods that we use for casework to build the boxes for cabinets, most of them are 49 by 97. So you can do that. So you have room for those saw curves. And then by the same token, the 96, you can't get 2 4-footers out of a 96 because you've got the saw curve. Therefore, 97 allows you to do that. It's pretty smart, I think.
How do you spell the Kiefkert?
Say it again, please.
The amount of product lost, the title you gave it, how do you spell it?
Kerf, the kerf, it's
Yeah.
it's K-E-R-F. If you can see that, maybe you can't see it. I'll write it bigger. Yeah, saws take a kerf. So when you saw something, the saw blade is making a kerf with a K, K-E-R-F, kerf. And it's pretty important to remember that because you're going to lose material. And yeah, saw blades. Okay, kerf. So that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. Kerfs. Where are we? So that was talking about laminate. I was talking about laminate. Okay. So I never did get around to telling you how laminate's done. I got stuck on sheet goods and solid stock and the sizes of sheet goods and solid stock, which is all good information. It's good information that if you didn't have, it's good to know, especially if you're planning to do anything that has to do with woodworking. So laminate. Formica, Nevamar, Wilson Art, the samples come on chains. If you go online, yeah, I may show you some laminate in case, I might show you some laminate online, but if you go online, let's say we go to Formica's site, we're gonna see all kinds of products, different kinds of products and different kinds of finishes. Plastic laminate comes in a variety of finishes. They come in a gloss finish, a standard finish, a pebbled finish, a leather finish, there's half a dozen finishes, specialty finishes. The standard finishes are matte, and some of the colors and patterns come in gloss. So Formica plastic laminate comes in solid colors and it comes in patterns, lots of patterns. And the patterns are usually named, and it comes in patterns that look like wood. A lot of plastic laminate looks just like wood until you get up close. It's a picture of wood that's manufactured. The plastic laminate is manufactured with a picture of wood on it, with the color of the wood, you know, cherries, oaks, white oak, red oak, maple, birch. You can get just about anything with color washes on it, patterns, glosses, stuff that looks like stone. And let's say you're laminating your desktop and you got a nice, what's it called? Contract gray. It's this stuff right here. This is contract gray. That laminate, that's plastic laminate, by the way. There's a kerf exposing the phenolic back and the substrate and the edge of the plastic laminate. And that edge banding is vinyl. It's gray all the way through. It's not plastic laminate. So it's not considered self-edged. Where are we? Where am I? Okay. I got a blank board. That's where I am. So you're doing a desk, right? And you're doing a desk. And let's just look down on it. Well, let's look forward on it. It's 6 feet and it sits on a couple of file cabinets. And that's your knee hole, and you hang your keyboard tray under there. Okay, if you're making a desk and you want the desk to be a nice, hard, wipeable surface that's good to write on. So you've chosen contract gray, high pressure laminate Formica, countertop grade, the thickest high pressure laminate that you can get, which is countertop grade. And so you can't just, I take it back. You can buy it laid up. There are companies, the one in LA that we use is called Harters, Harters. If you have a wholesale account with them, you can tell them what kind of laminate you want and what you want it put on. So you can tell them, no, I want a 4x8. That's what you'd have to buy to do that, say 30-inch desk. So your desk is going to be 30 inches by 72 inches. You got to buy a 4x8 sheet, or you got to have it laid up on a 4x8 sheet, which in this case is going to be 49 by 97. You could have it laid up, but let's say you don't have a wholesale account. You're not going to have it laid up. You're going to do it. So you're going to cut 30 by 72. And 3/4 particle board. It's a good substrate. It's flat, it's cheap, it's dense, it's made, and it's relatively porous, so it can take the glue, which is contact cement. So you're going to laminate this, and then you're going to edge band it. And let's say you're going to edge band it with solid stock. That's a different thing altogether. But for the meantime, you're going to take this thing, you cut it 30 inches. Your substrate, right? 3/4 substrate by 72. And it's just particle board. Now you want to get the laminate on it. So you cut the laminate oversized. In this case, you could cut it, you could use a 4x8 sheet, or maybe just cut it a couple inches over. So it hangs over 2 inches, and it hangs over an inch or two, and hangs over an inch or two. You just got to make sure you cut it big, right? Got to make sure you cut it big. So it's going to be bigger than your substrate, right? So you've done that. Now you're going to put your substrate without the laminate laying on it, loose. You're going to lay it down flat on some horses or a bench. And you're going to put you lay the laminate over it, and it's oversized. You're going to take the laminate off. You're going to put it on another part of the bench, right? So this guy's laying there, and the laminate's laying there, and you're going to spray, roll, or brush contact cement onto this. Now, contact cement can be sprayed, brushed, or rolled. Depends on the grade you buy and how you buy it. In other words, you can't use a contact cement that you can brush on and roll on in a sprayer. That's a special kind. And contact cement either comes water-based or solvent-based. The solvent-based is the best. It goes off the best. It sticks the best. It's the best glue, but it's the most obnoxious to work around because it's a very, very strong solvent, and it will tend to give you headaches if you're not working in a well-ventilated place with lots of air movement. It can kind of mess you up. So it needs to be well ventilated, and it's very flammable. So water-based contact cements are very popular. They're just not as efficient, and they don't go off as well in colder climates. Colder climates, you can take all the way down to, I think, 60 degrees, and a contact-based, solvent-based contact cement will go off. where a water-based contact cement may not go off at 60 degrees. When I say go off, you apply it to the back side of the laminate, the side that doesn't have the color, right? It's going to be a brown phenolic back. You evenly apply it all the way over, and you evenly apply it to your substrate. So it's evenly applied. So you've covered the substrate and you've covered the oversized piece of laminate. Now you wait. Depending upon the temperature in the air, you wait anywhere from 10 minutes to a half hour until your plastic or until your contact cement is tack free. That means you can take a piece of tissue paper, you touch it to the contact cement, and it doesn't pull away with any paper. It's tack free. It doesn't tack anymore. It's started to dry. Now it's ready to go. And your working time with contact cement, again, depending on the temperature, let's just say it's 70 degrees, you probably got a solid hour to work with it. If it's 80 degrees, maybe 15 minutes. The hotter it is, the less time you have to work with it. So you just take this guy, turn it over, and drop it on. Yeah, you do that. If it's well oversized, you can just drop it on. You want to make sure there's no bubbles. We like to lay pieces of lath or dowels across long substrate to laminate, put the sheet on the dowels, and then start pulling out a dowel at a time as we work the sheet. And you want to roll the sheet, and you want to hit it with a block until you have made contact with every part of the top of that laminate, and you've rolled it down or pressed it down with a block of wood. You press the laminate down to the substrate. So the glue on the substrate and the glue on the laminate come together, and it's called contact cement. And the reason why it's called contact cement is there is no clamp time on contact cement. Once that piece of laminate, it's got contact cement on it, goes against the substrate that has contact cement on it, and it touches it, it's not going to move. It goes off on contact. You have a bond on contact. You are not going to get that off of there unless you spray some lacquer thinner in there and peel it off and start from scratch and scrape it all off and start again. You can't do that. So you want to get it right the first time, but you don't want to try to cut the laminate the same size as the substrate, because you don't want to try to line that thing up. You don't want to do that. It's too hard. So that's why you cut your laminate oversized. Your laminate is at least an inch or so over, half inch. It doesn't really matter how far, as long as it's over. And as long as when you get it laminated down, your laminate is sticking over the edge. Dotted line showing the laminate or the particle board, the substrate below. That's where the laminate trimmer comes in. So you take a laminate trimmer or any router, and you put in a laminate trimmer bit, which is a straight bit with a bearing, and it cuts flush. It's basically a flush cutter. So the bearing rolls on the edge of the work. So if this were the particle board with the laminate on it, this guy would go like that, and it would roll. The bearing would roll on it, but the bearing, instead of putting a radius on it like that, it would be a straight cut. It would cut flush. So it would cut off. That laminate trimmer, you'd start, and by the way, routers need to be used in a certain direction. When you're routing from the face on you, you route from left to right, from right to left on the back. And it's how the router moves. It's how it's meant to move. It's a climb cut if you go the opposite way. So you go in, your bearing contacts the particle board, and you just go like that, and you flush trim it. And what you do is that flush trimmer just trims off all that excess laminate, and it trims the laminate dead flush to your particle board. Particle board substrate, if it is, could be plywood, could be MDF. And now what you've got on the edge view you've got a particle board substrate, and then you've got a plastic laminate to it, and it's just flush at the edge. It's right, exactly conforms to the edge of that. And then if you want to, you can do buildups. Get it to 1.5 inches. I like 1.5 inches. And then put an 1.5 inches or 3/4. You can leave it 3/4. You can put a wood edge band on it and ease the edge, flush trim that. So now when you belly up to your desk, you're bellying up to a nice rounded wood edge, and you've got this beautiful laminate surface to write on, and it's erasable and wipeable, and it's smooth, and it makes a great surface for desks, because it makes a great surface for all kinds of things. As you can see, we've used it for our outfeed tables right here. And I'm going to remember, I hope, because I got to go out to my old shop. I want to remember to get a chain, a laminate chain, and show you, because plastic laminate, you don't know, but it's kind of a dying art, doing plastic laminate. So there are people that specialize in it, but I think any and all finished carpenters should be aware of it. And if you're doing, if your skills are limited, or you're limiting yourself to do-it-yourself stuff, and if you just want to do woodworking and construction around the house, knowing how plastic laminate works is a pretty good deal, because you can make stuff for yourself. You can buy stuff and do it yourself. And even if you don't know, even if you're not going to do it, it's my contention that knowing how things work furthers you. Wow, so that's a laminate trimmer. And a laminate trimmer bit, just for the heck of it. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, okay, good. Thanks, Francisco. And Sam, you're in here. Okay, Sam's here. Good. Sam showed up. Hey, how about Carla? Did Carla come?
Yeah, she showed up.
She came in pretty
not too long
early,
after.
like about 9:20 or so. She was
Okay, good.
in here.
Well, I'm not doing any lates or not lates. I'm beyond caring about that anymore. Just for getting the role. So Carla's here. Carla made it, and who else?
Sam.
made it? I'm sorry.
Sam Greenberg.
Sam made it. Sam Greenberg made
No
it.
Hector yet.
Did Hector make it?
Mm-mm.
No,
No.
no Hector. Okay. All right. So I just want to see. I
Wait,
want to see.
I need the answer to the trivia question. What kind of wood was it that you picked up that was from the fires?
Yes. Yeah. Anybody got any guesses?
Eucalyptus?
Oh, that's a really good guess, though. Dang.
Oh.
Madrone?
That's the best guess anybody's given me. It's not the right answer, but it's a really good guess, because it doesn't look like your normal.
Is it Madrone?
No, I think that would be pretty red. It's olive wood.
Olive.
Yeah, it's olive wood. It's olive wood, and I want to show you guys what we did with it. So my friend Peter Kornbluth owns a
Thank you.
company called Construction Plumbing. He's a big he's a big plumbing contractor, and he has a beautiful house on 20 acres up on Las Canoas, and he lost his house in the T fire. And in the rebuild, we bid, and we won the contract, and I knew I was going to do it. But we were doing all his cabinets and making all his jambs and all his interior doors. We made all his jambs out of I think ash hickory, and all his doors we made out of cherry wood, and then all of his cabinetry we were going to make out of cherry wood. And then at one point, when we were getting closer, as he's building the house, we're getting closer to thinking about cabinets. He comes in, he calls me up and says, "Hey, I lost 64 110-year-old olive trees in the fire, and I've got trunks no more than 5 feet tall, and I'm no more than 10 inches in diameter. Do you think we could mill them up, and do you think we could use the wood, any of the wood?" So my first reaction was no, absolutely not. No way, man. I want to buy, like I said, I want to buy the wood. I don't want to have to make the wood. I want to buy it. So he said, well, I said, but you know what, Pete, just come in after, everybody goes home, come in about 4:30 or 5, bring a log. We'll set up the bandsaw, and we'll just take a look at it. I'm fully feeling this is just going to be a big waste of time. So we did. We set up the bandsaw, and we peeled off a piece, and we both looked at this piece and went, oh my gosh, that's the stuff. So the upshoot of that is we set up a Hitachi Resaw, which is a bandsaw with a 3 1/4 inch band with carbide tip teeth. We set that up and milled all of this stock, all of his trunks. We milled to 1 1/4 rough. And then we stickered it and we air dried it for a month. And then we built a solar kiln around it, basically, and dried it in a kiln powered by solar for about 2 months until the internal moisture was right around 8%, which is ambient moisture for wood in this area. Then we pulled it out, took it back to the shop. We rough milled it to 4/4 net or 1 inch net. And then we started building cabinets out of it. So this is what they look like. If I can figure out how to get out of here, let's see. How do I get out of here? How do I get out of here? I got back up. Okay, that's it. You mean the X? Okay, fine. Let's see. Okay. So I don't own this company anymore. But I'm affiliated with them, and just that I train them all.
Was that a book house?
Oh yeah, you want to see that? I'll go back to it. Yeah, it's unreal.
House.
So okay, so this is Peter's kitchen. That's all that olive wood turned into cabinets, all solid stock, laminated to make those drawer fronts and those panel
That's
finished ends.
so beautiful.
Isn't that just unreal? And it has kind of a
That's so cool.
bleached wash on it. And his wife has got unbelievable taste. It's a quartzite top. You stand and look out this window at the 64 stumps of the olive trees that were burned and cut down, and you're standing in a kitchen with them all around you, made into these cabinets. These are
Oh my gosh.
Aventos. This is a Blum product. These hinges right here, it's called Aventos. And so this is them closed right there. And that's them open. You grab hold of the handles and lift towards you, and then they float up above you to access the coffee bar. This has hard RO water plumb to the espresso machine. I mean, we just did some
That's
really
ridiculous.
fun stuff
That's so cool.
in this house. And there's the cherry doors. There's the doors to he and Story's office. And this is all olive wood cabinetry. The open stuff, we use an ash hickory. We also made all of his beams in 2x spruce. Love these doors though, these cherry doors. And then she had a kind of a wash, kind of a bleachy wash put on the cherry, so they took the red out of them almost altogether. It got them closer to the olive look, but different, and homogenized the color. This is the master bathroom. And so, the wood is so interesting. I mean, typically people are looking for no knots and, clear and none of the imperfections, but Peter and Story were glad for the imperfections, and of which there were many, because this is real wood. This isn't we didn't culinate it, but this right here, see that knot right there? That's probably the ugliest and the biggest knot in the whole place. And the inside of that door is so beautiful. So my guys messed up on that one, as far as I'm concerned, but it really couldn't go wrong, because they found the wood to be so interesting. This is the guest bath, Carrara marble top, 4 big drawers, false front, and then 2 side drawers for toothpaste and stuff. And there's the kitchen. Pretty cool, huh? And then now I designed this treehouse for these very wealthy clients for their grandkids. It cost $85,000 to build. I wasn't the owner of the company at the time. I had sold the company, and they just hired me on to design. The guy's house whose museum the book building is, this is his house, which is also very interesting. It's an amoeba-shaped concrete and glass house. But the book building, do any of you know about the book building? The book house? So I built this in,
No.
can't remember, but anyway, I won a Builder of the Year in 2014. I retired in 2015. So I went out on top with this particular project, but it's 7,000 square feet. It's Ted Gardner's, Theodore Roosevelt Gardner III's museum. That whole exterior, it's 10 books. It's a stack haphazardly stacked of 10 books. This book here, book 10, is 54 feet long. The pages are brass. The spines and covers are copper. It cost us $875,000 just to skin the outside of this building. These are supposed to be book spines, all the concrete, carport. He's written all these titles, so he's a sculptor. He sculpted that. He's also an author. He's a real Renaissance man. I'll tell you, the windows in this job was one of the toughest things I ever did, was to pull off these windows. Now, this is a Volkswagen. So all over his property, Ted's an artist as well as a collector of art. So on his 20 acres, he has specimen landscaping you can't believe, and he has all these sculptures, probably 400 sculptures, from the size of a Volkswagen to the size of a small house to the size of a table. I mean, all over the map. And so he's got 4 or 5 of these Volkswagens climbing up the hill. And at one point, we have 2 air conditioning units zoning this. And he did not want to see the compressor / condenser over here on the side of the driveway. He wanted it buried. So we ran the line sets underneath the driveway. We put the condenser on a pad, and then we cut out a Volkswagen and dropped a Volkswagen over it. That's what this Volkswagen is. It covers the condenser. This is the carport entrance, looking up at these. As you can see, this glass, the glass is all steel and glass, which there's no slop in. You don't get to shave or play with any of that. This sculpture, Ted put there to cover the mistake. The plan showed this book dropping down. This cover should have dropped down onto that. Now, the red iron guys, which, I tried to stay on top of, but man, when the red iron skeleton was being erected, it was very hard to stay on top of it. And then when we got to this point, it was too late. So Ted said, never mind, I'll just do a sculpture for that. So he did. This is the interior of the museum. It has an epoxied floor over a concrete poured pan deck. It's all one floor with a big mezzanine. This is looking at the entry doors, which are cut in a bias. The good news is that all the books, even though they're at really weird angles, they are, the spines and covers are perpendicular and square to each other. And the books themselves are square. So that did help, but that's a sculpture by Ted. This is looking through the main floor down to the 2 subterranean or semi-subterranean basements that the main floor sits on. They're 14-foot underground. That was also a trip and a half to do. This is the glass staircase I designed. It's steel, stainless steel, and glass with 2¼ inch thick laminated glass treads. You walk up that. Now, Ted wanted the Apple staircase. If you've ever seen the staircases they do in some of the bigger Apple stores in some of the larger cities, they're all glass. They wanted $185,000 to do that staircase. And so we decided not to do that. I probably spent closer to maybe 30 on this. So it was a savings. This is the mezzanine. This is Ted's grand piano that burned in the tea fire. Yeah, it burned in the tea fire and it melted. And that's what was left. And he turned it into a sculpture. Really a trip up on the mezzanine level. That's looking down. That's looking at some of the details where the books carry through. Looking into the kitchen, because it couldn't be permitted where it was zoning wise. It could not be permitted as a residence or as a single family dwelling. It couldn't be permitted as a museum because it doesn't allow commercial construction up there, and a museum is considered commercial, even though it's built like a skyscraper, literally. So it had to be called a house, single family dwelling. And to be a house, it had to have certain things like a kitchen, bathrooms, it had to have a bedroom. So we had to put all those things in. If you notice, we had custom tiles made. We had them made in Pulton. So this is the shower. These are book tiles that we had made just for this project. We used them for the risers going up the metal staircase with concrete treads. This guy came from Sacramento and installed this in one day. He came by himself. Guy was incredible. I don't know how I found this guy. Somehow I found this guy, Mr. Staircase. That's not his name, but it was something like that. The guy was phenomenal. I mean, his price was so unbelievably good. No one could believe it. And he showed up and he did that thing in a day and left, and nobody could believe it. So that guy will live on in my memory as the hero that he is. Now, this is the entry from the carport. You can see as the books come around the pages, every 4 inches is a reglet or a 3/4 by 3/4 indentation that describes and is supposed to describe a page. These doors house the electrical panel. So you see the pages go on through. These fixed glass frames are compound miters. I had to template these for the glass guy. These were really tough to pull off, But here's the good news. On all the glass, all the copper, all the brass, in the 9 years this building's been operating, we have not had one leak, not one leak. Now, right here between the 2 stacks of books, I don't know if you can see this, is a giant skylight. Yeah, I don't think you can see it. Yeah, you can't see it. It's right in there. It's a giant skylight. Maybe yeah, you can sort of see it there. But anyway, the guys that did the skylight said, we can't do the skylight there. We can guarantee it won't leak, but you have 2 giant roofs dumping on this skylight, and it's guaranteed to leak. So we had to stop in the middle of the job and redesign and design in gutters into the book covers so you couldn't see them, and then take the water off and away. And that's another thing that we have to do in building a lot is we have to deal with water. We have to deal with every drop of water, basically, that is anticipated to fall on a property, not just on a building, but on a property. So we have to tell that water where to go. We have to carry it off in downspouts, gutters and downspouts, and then we have to have those downspouts go underground. We have to have it daylight. We have to tell the water where to go. It's really important. And where we can't tell it where to go is we can't dump it on our neighbor's property. So while we're looking at this, while we're right here, I'm just going to walk you through this gallery a bit, because this is finished carpentry, right? Intermediate finished carpentry. Yes, indeed it is. So I built this bank, the American Riviera Bank. I built it downtown, the downtown branch in Cherrywood with a big curved tiller. Oh, I forget how many years ago, but I became a founder of the bank in building it, and I had a really great relationship with them. I wound up selling my stock last year, which was a huge mistake, which is a whole other story for another time. But when it came time to do their Montecito branch, which was going to be in this new building there across from Pierre Lafons and behind the Montecito Cafe, I got to do the trim work, and I was kind of knew I was going to get to do it. So we got to do all this fantastic finished carpentry. So we got to do this wainscoting. We got to do this coffered ceilings. We got to do the fireplace surrounds. We got to do the windows and the window trim and the door trim. And we got to build all the furniture. So once they got a bid from me to do all the finish work, then the VP said, hey, well, why don't you just build our furniture? So we got to build every piece of furniture you see in here. All the desks. Did all the fireplace, all these coffered ceilings. This is, this is downstairs again, the desks, chandelier, this glass ceiling above. This is downstairs, is reception. Just a detail on the cabs. The handrails and the whole staircase system, as well as the balustrades, handrails, and newel posts, which is part of a handrail system. The handrail, the wall-mounted handrail, this, by the way, right here, that my hand is following is one piece, turns the corner, goes up, returns, comes up, goes that way, all one piece, right?
How'd you guys manipulate it to do that out of one piece?
That, Francisco, is the magic of Finnish carpentry. So in handrail systems, LJ Smith is the big handrail people, right? LJ Smith. You know, people copy them, but they're the big company. So if you're doing handrails, especially classic handrails and non-classic handrails and modern handrails, just check out LJ Smith. They have everything. They have all the tools, they have the jigs, they have all the pieces, and importantly, they have all the connections for the handrails. So let's find the connections. So these are handrails. Where's the connections? Wood handrails for stairs.
The handrails in the bank, were those wood or metal?
Those are all wood. Yeah, so they had metal brackets holding them to the wall, but they're all wood. They're backing up a second. Let me just go back. I'll show you. They were that, I think they were, no, they weren't that. They were a gripper. They were what's considered a grip rail. It's not that one. So, and if any of you are wondering what plowed and non-plowed means, I think this might have been it. So plowed, they're plowed with the groove in the bottom that receives balustrades, and non-plowed with either they don't get a balustrade or the balusters just toenail or dowel into the bottom of the handrail. But I thought, yeah, so a gripper handrail, I have a handout from the county and the city of Santa Barbara that describe what you can do and can't do in handrails and guardrails. And so that handrail had to be a gripper handrail. I don't really see it right here, but let's look at, okay, let's see. I want to answer your question. I know I'm taking a while to get to it, Francisco, but damn it, sorry. Nope, I just had it and then I got out of it, didn't I? I did. All right, let's go. Let's try this. Well, it's probably because I didn't spell connection right. No. Wow. Okay. So that you buy the pieces. They're handrail fittings, right? Not handrail brackets, handrail fittings. Let's see. Not brackets, not brackets, not brackets. Let's see what they got for handrail fittings. Oh, grr. I'm striking out here, but I'm gonna, I'm gonna find this. I've got to find it. got to find it.
Initially, I thought the handrails were metal and it was just one piece, and that's why I was like, wow, that's a lot of bending and to get it
Yeah,
all
no, that
properly
would,
in
that,
place.
and that would be doable, you know, that would really be doable because you can weld and, you know, do all that stuff. God, I cannot find this. Okay, so fine, let's go to, that was, let's do this one. Drat, I swear. But anyway, let's just see if I can find a typical, like, so right here, so this is straight handrail, right? And then right here is a connection. That's called an up-ease. And it takes you to here, and then that's a miter, and that goes to a quarter turn connection with another up-ease. So everywhere these straight rails hit a connection where they go around and they go up or down, those are fittings that connect to the straight rail. And it's really interesting the way they're connected. I want to show you this because it's pretty interesting piece of woodworking. So handrail bolt. Okay, here we go. This is good. Let's find so that's called a volute right there. That piece, so all the handrail parts, there's a whole nomenclature around handrails. All the handrail parts have names, and this is called a volute. And I think I'll show this and then we'll take a break. But let's just watch this 4 minutes. Maybe we'll watch the whole 4 minutes, maybe not. But this is how they're joined. They come with that hole in the bottom. One inch. That's called a rail bolt. So one end from the middle, one end is threaded, 1/4-20. And this end is a lag with a point. It's made to be driven in. Let's see how this guy drives them. So here he's just doing a pilot hole. This is a pilot hole right in the middle. Okay, he's double nutting it to drive it. That's good. I'd hang that off the bench so I could do what he's doing now. Driving it in.
Is it preferable to do it by hand rather than like, say with a drill?
Yeah. I mean, once you get the holes done, you want to screw it in by hand because you want to feel it go in too. And yeah, I've never done it mechanically with a drill. Always screwed in with either a ratchet or a box end or open end wrench. But actually, I clamp on right about there with the vice grips and just turn it in with the vice grips. But I like the way this guy's doing it better because you don't mess up these threads. Not that you ever have to use them that close. You'll see. So, huh?
That's cool.
Isn't that cool? You got to glue it. You definitely glue it. Always glue those joints. Glue it so hopefully you get some glue squeeze out too. And glue goes on evenly on both sides, right? Both of the pieces are going together. This is just a butt joint, but it becomes a mechanically fastened butt joint.
What's that piece called?
I think it's a shaped washer.
Oh.
This is the tough part.
That's not a lot of play.
No, not a lot of play at all. But you can see he draws that joint until the glue squeezes out. And he's just got a perfect joint. And I'm telling you, so that's how that handrail was done. All those turns and up eases and quarter turns and volutes all were stair parts done just exactly like this, with these exact fasteners and these tapered plugs into the bottom. So by the time that's plugged, sanded, and stained, you are really going to be hard pressed. You can see the plug on the bottom, but again, it's the bottom. So rarely do you see that, or rarely you're in a position to look at it. But if you do look at it, you don't see a hole. You see a nice clean plug. And he can get that in pretty much flush with just, as soon as that glue goes off, with a minimum amount of sanding. It's pretty cool. I really love, handrails. Stairs, handrails, all that stuff, handrail systems. It's what I like to do probably the most. So let's take a break. I've got 4 minutes after. Let's come back. Let's come back at 15 after 11. All right. We'll see you back here at 15 after 11.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, I got 15 after. Come on back, everybody, please. Please join us. I think I did the hand, showed you guys. Yeah, I love the stair parts. It's pretty simple, and part that's like not as simple is when you're dealing with the angles and they're not just straight. You have to do a pitch block, and you make a pitch block based on the unit rise and unit run of your stairs. That's a conversation for another time. But before we go on to the next tool, I want to show you, remember we talked about Simpson, we looked at Simpson and talked about the Simpson catalog, and I told you that Simpson's got the greatest deal in the world because everybody now calls them out. So here's the plan, here's what I'm building right now. And here's the foundation plan. So if we look at this foundation plan, look at all the Simpson stuff, all right? So all these HDUs, HDU, those are all Simpson HDUs. So right here, right? HDU hold-ons per plan, all Simpsons. A307s, ATRs, that's Simpson. All these straps, this ST 6224, that's a 24-inch strap. These are all Simpsons. These LTP4s, all Simpson. Those Titans we looked at, there's a call out. So existing sills that get shear wall have to be anchored, even if they're anchored by anchor bolts, which they should be, they have to get additional Titans put in them. Wow. Huh. Yeah, Simpson is everywhere. Simpson call outs. Simpson call outs. That's a drag strut. And then on the framing plan, again, you've got, there's straps, just Simpson LPTs, A35s, which by the way have to be at every freeze block. Every freeze block, which is the block between rafters, between any rafters, common rafters, has to have an A35, which is basically what they call a hurricane clip, to clip the rafter to the plate, which the freeze block ties the rafters to each other, and then the LPT4 or A35 nails to the plate and to the freeze block, which holds the whole thing together. Most of this stuff, a lot of this stuff is seismic stuff. So let's go to, I want to keep going on tools. I know it's sidetracked, which is not unlike me. I played golf yesterday at Sandpiper. One of my favorite places to play golf for a variety of reasons, not the least of which it's along the ocean, but a really good reason is that I scattered my parents' ashes who were diehard golfers. I scattered their ashes on the 11th tee. My mom on the women's and my dad's on the men's, and it's like going to visit them when I go. So belt sanders is the next thing on my list. And actually I wanted to add, I'm going to add jigs, boring jigs, drilling. So I'm going to put butt jig here. I'll get it on to my list, to my Word doc, so you guys can have it if you want to print it. I'm going to be adding a few things, but let's talk about belt sanders. Belt sanders, let's just talk about sanders. Sanders are a big part of finished carpentry, a big part of carpentry, but really more finished carpentry. You don't usually see sanders used much in rough carpentry. So there are a variety of sanders, which you may or may not be familiar with. The most dangerous sander, and that is the most dangerous for the work, is the belt sander. This is a 4x24 Makita. It probably weighs 25 or maybe. It's heavy. All belt sanders typically have their own bag. This is a 4x24, 4 wide, 24 long, the belt. You can buy belts and all the way from 40 grit, 60 grit, 80, 100, 120, 150, 180 220. I think that's as high as your belt sanders go. This is a 3x24, 3 inches wide by 24. An older Makita with the dust bag is missing, which is a real drag. Now here's a real old one. I like Porter Cable tools a lot. I tooled up with Porter Cable tools right in the beginning when I got started in 1974. I pretty much got started buying tools. This is a 3x21. It's 3 inches wide. There's no belt on it. It's 21 inches long. It's a little shorter. As you can see, it's been beat up. It's been rolled over and it's been sanded and it's had some tough stuff. Belt sanders, they only have one adjustment, and it's a tracking adjustment. It's right here, and it tracks the belt back and forth so you can get it to go right where you want it, over the roller and onto the platen. Now, the thing about a belt sander, and using a belt sander, you control the belt sander. You don't push down. You just guide the belt sander. You do long strokes and try to take it all the way so that if this is your work, you're sanding all the way to the flat, not just stopping there, but getting to the flat part, right? It takes a lot of control to sand well. And if you lose control with a belt sander, you can wreck a piece of work. So don't use a belt sander unless you've really been checked on it and you really have some experience using it, please. And also, all belt sanders have that trigger switch where you can press the button with your trigger on, press the button, and it locks your trigger on. So that way you don't have to hold the trigger the whole time. You can just guide the tool, right? Problem is, if you guide the tool too much and it pulls your cord out and you don't release this, when you go plug your cord back in, your belt sander will go shooting off the bench. That's happened to me and some people that work for me. And then the thing that I told you about in sanding is take the meat off with the coarsest grit you need. Even if you got to go to 40, which is very coarse, typically you can take the meat off with 60. Shape it, get it flat, or get your mill marks off. And then you're just taking the 80 scratch. If you used 80, you're just taking the 80 scratches out with 100. Just guiding the belt sander till all those 80 scratches are gone. Now they're 100 scratches. Now you put on or grab another sander, 120, then 150. So you're just taking out, the higher the number, the more grains per inch, the finer the sandpaper. You're just taking out the scratches from the coarser material before. Now, this is a pretty good example of a pad sander, a palm sander, oscillating sander. It's got a dust collection on it, which is nice. Got its own dust bag. Some of the older ones that I used that like this did not have a dust bag. They take a quarter sheet. So you take an 8.5 by 11 and you rip it into quarters. It takes a quarter sheet of sandpaper. It's pretty efficient. It's got a particular sound. Sounds like this. If you're doing a lot of sanding, wear hearing protection. Really is important. So that's a typical orbital sander. Still keep it going, the grain, and you also want to keep that grain going in one direction. This is not a typical, I'm going to show you a Festo sander, which is over the top expensive.
So did you say when you're sanding, you want to keep going in the direction of the grain always? Is that what you mentioned? Okay.
I did say that. So you don't want to cross grain sand, because cross grain sanding really shows up the scratches, where with the grain, it's easier to sand. Now, there is an exception to this rule. You always sand with the grain unless you're trying to take off and shape your board a lot or take off a lot of material with your sander. Then you use a coarse grain, and you could cross grain and do cross grain. You take off the most material that way. Then you have to go back and sand with the grain to take off those cross grain scratches. I can't figure out how to open
Thanks.
this. damn thing. There we go. Wow. Where did we get a brand new Rotex? Oh my God, there's two of them here. I don't even know where we got these, because we have one on top of the dust collection that snaps onto the dust collection. So these guys plug into dust collection to your dust collector, which I showed you. Then this guy plugs in like so and twist locks. And then that plugs into your dust collection. You turn on automatic so that when you press the trigger on this, the dust collector comes on as well. And I'll let you hear what this sounds like. Make sure it's off. I hate that when I turn something on and I got the trigger plug and the belt sander goes flying. Just like that. So I had this thing locked inadvertently because it's not a familiar sander with me, even though we have two of them in our shop. But I haven't been actually working in that shop for a couple of decades. So that's the lock. That turns it on. Oh, I see. So it's locked when you turn it on, it's on. So then you just guide it. So and it has two methods of oscillation. It has this method of oscillation, and then it has this method of oscillation. And that's what this switch is about. It's a killer tool, but this costs about $600. Less than 100. It's not as efficient. It won't sand as well or do as many things. This is a Velcro pad. So all of the Festo pads, all the sanding pads, which are also relatively expensive, they have Velcro on the bottom. So on any sanding disc belt, so this is a 6-inch disc, it'll say the grit, 80 grit. So there's 80 grains of abrasive material per square inch. They're vented, and they have a particular pattern. Festo has a pattern that's proprietary to it. DeWalt, there are a Bosch, there are other sanders that have their own proprietary patterns, which is weird, but you line up with these holes, you line them up, Velcroed on, you're ready to go. And the holes line up, and so these holes are drawing air. So as you're making sawdust, these holes draw the sawdust through the tool out here and out here and into your vacuum cleaner. So you can have a fairly dustless environment, because breathing sawdust, breathing anything besides air is not all that good for you. Okay. Pretty cool, man. I gotta say, pretty cool Rotex. I'll have to figure. That'll probably take me the rest of the day to figure out how that goes back in the box. Hopefully not. Okay, so sanders, right? Belt sanders, orbital sanders. And by the way, I showed you in the hand tools the hand block. So the hand block is a tool you really want to have. Whether you make it yourself with the sanding belt, like I showed you, the one that we have here, which can really, really, put some weight on and really do some shaping and sanding with, to orbital and belt sanders. I would buy a cheap orbital sander as my first sander, something like that. DeWalt's relatively inexpensive, or maybe a Bosch, and then go from there. When you are starting to make more money at this trade, and you're doing more, and you're doing finer things and more things, then maybe you want to step up to Festool, because it is worth the money, but only if you got the money, right? If you don't have the money, it makes it. So belt sanders, orbital sanders, oscillating sanders. All right, biscuit tool. Now that's going to be a problem, I think. Let's see. So a biscuit tool is a joining tool. It's really, and I don't know where it is. It's probably outside. The Festo has a domino tool, but biscuit joining is really pretty common. And biscuit joining uses biscuits. And we have a whole bunch of different size biscuits. And I can't find them. Again, can't find them. They look like footballs. That's a Lamello biscuit. Now this is a number 8. No, number 6. This is number 6. So I think they come in 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12s. So they just get bigger. I think there's maybe one smaller. They just get bigger. These are used for joining, butt joining pieces when two pieces join. You can use it to join butt to butt, edge to edge. You can use it a whole lot of ways, and I think probably it's a really good tool. It indexes a joint, and it gives it a lot of strength. So it's a tool that they've made relatively affordable. It didn't used to be affordable. The Domino is Festool's version of a biscuit tool, and they cost like $1,200. And the dominoes are thicker. They're more like making a tenon. For instance, I had a bunch of, around here somewhere, I have some samples of dominoes, but I don't have it right now. But I want to show you what a biscuit joiner does, because biscuit joiners are affordable and you can use them for laminations. We used to use dowels to add strength to our edge laminating when we wanted to make boards wider. Like all that stuff I laminated for the olive wood kitchen. When I say laminated, we had the shop edge laminate to make wider boards for wider drawer fronts and wider doors and wider finished end panels. And we used biscuits. We used a biscuit joiner to do that. I think we did. We might have used a Krieg jig. I haven't gotten to that yet, but I want to show you a biscuit joiner. Because some of you don't know what a biscuit joiner is. Oh, crud. I swear, navigating this thing is sometimes just crazy, man. Crazy. So Delta makes one for, wow, Chicago makes one for $70. Makita and Delta about $180. That's about right. Oh, and it looks like Rockler's got something called a beadlock tenon maker. So let's just look at,
Hey, Rodney,
yes,
this is Francisco. I had a general question.
fire away.
How much of this is going to be on a test, or like,
Francisco, because we're not grading, because this is a non-credit class and there are no grades, you won't be tested.
oh,
Yeah, you won't be
Okay.
tested. So if you want to get tested, sign up and take our credit classes. We teach all this stuff more in depth in credit, and then there are tests and you do get grades. But because it's not graded, we don't do tests. So none of this
Okay.
will be on a
Well,
test.
thank you.
You bet. But I'd love to have you in any of my, CT 114 is beginning finished carpentry. CT 115 is intermediate finished carpentry. And I don't know if any of you know this or if you've been told this yet or before, but our CT or construction technology program is good for an AA degree. So if you take the requisite courses, of which CT 114 beginning finished carpentry and CT 115 intermediate finished carpentry / cabinet making, those are requisites, as well as we have a green building class, and the 111, CT 111 is a general construction. I'm teaching that right now too. But if you meet the requisites in the CT program, you can get an AA degree, a 2-year degree, which you automatically can go on to a 4-year college with your AA degree. But it also gives you a 1.5 years towards your certs. Had I already told you guys this? Did anybody remember hearing this? No? Okay, so any of you that are thinking that you might someday want to be a general contractor, to be a licensed general contractor in the state of California, you have to go through an application process. And a big part of that application process is you have to provide certification for 4 years in 10 of acting in the capacity of journeyman or above. So job supervisor, journeyman, your own boss and your own projects, you have to certify and have certification that spells out when you were doing that, at what point, and you have to amass 4 years of experience in a 10-year period. That's with your application. An AA degree in the construction tech department gives you 1.5 years of those certs automatically, your degree. So then you only need to certify for another 2.5 years of work in the trade as a journeyman and above to qualify to take the test and become a general contractor, or any kind of contractor, especially contractor, general contractor. But this is a biscuit joiner. And whoa, okay. I don't know what that means. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leah of CJ Drill, and today I'm going to show you how to.
Yeah, I've seen this woman. She's great. Leah is really good. So this is a typical biscuit joiner. The ones that first came out like 25 or 30 years ago or more came from Sweden. They were called Lamello. And if you look at the biscuits that we buy, most of them are Lamello. Oh, you can't see this because the camera's not on. They say Lamello. They were very expensive. They were $500 at the time. And 30 years ago, that was probably like $1,500 now. So now they're down to under $200, and they're really great for joining. And let's see what Leah.
What is it? Well, it's a biscuit cutter. We're not talking about bacon here, folks. No, this is an ideal tool to use if you want to do some joints, reinforced joints, and you don't want to use hardware. You don't want to use nails or screws. This is the tool for you. Let me show you how it operates. Let's get started. Okay, so let's take a look at the biscuit cutter. Now, it may look like a little bit of a complicated piece of machinery, but I guarantee you, this thing is very simple to operate. Let's look at some of the features. This is a collection bin. Of course, it's going to collect your sawdust. Down here, at the bottom of the handle is a trigger, and the trigger controls, that's really your on and off. And down here, we find our lock. If we move up toward the front of the biscuit cutter, we have 3 knobs, really, that we need to concern ourselves with. Okay, now, this first knob, well, that controls the height of the cut, where it's going to come in. And if I grab a piece of wood here, I'll be better to demonstrate. So here's a piece of wood. And ideally, you want your cut to come in at the center.
How about particle board, Leah?
Upon the size of the stock, you need to be able to raise and lower biscuit cutter to accommodate the stock. And that's what this knob does. Now, this second knob here, well, that controls the biscuit size. And if you're wondering what the biscuit is, let me show you what it looks like. This is a biscuit. Looks like a football, kind of. And on the biscuit, can you get this? If you come in close, there's a number there. And it says 20. And what that tells us is it tells us what size to set this dial to. Because biscuits only come in 3 sizes, and that's 0, 10, and our biscuit is a 20, so we're going to set it at 20. let's turn it around to the other side so we can take a look at the last adjustment knob. Now, this knob here, it controls, let's do this here, I'll undo this. It controls what's called an adjustable fence. And this fence allows you to adjust the angle of the cut. You may not always want to cut at 90 degrees. You may want to cut at 45. And so this fence and this knob allow you to do that. Now for our project today, I'm going to leave it set at 90 degrees. Okay, so I've got my 2 pieces of wood. They're clearly marked. I'm going to do what's called a simple butt joint. And so I'm going to slide one piece of wood away because you can only cut one at a time. Let me show you how you control the depth. So I'm going to put my wood in place here. And then the next thing that I want to be mindful of is I want to make certain that my settings are right. Now we're using a number 20 biscuit, so it's set on 20. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to control the height of our fence. And the way you do that is this knob here, well, it works in combination with a ruler that's attached on the side. Can you see that? And there's also an arrow here. And that arrow lets us know what height we're at. So I'm going to lower my fence to the desired height. And so I've done that. Now make certain that you clamp your project down securely before you operate the biscuit cutter. Okay, so our fence is set, but now we need to line up our cut mark. So this is our mark where we're going to place the biscuit, and you want to line it up with the red line that's on the biscuit cutter, and then there's also a red line here on the adjustable fence. Okay, now once you have everything lined up, your marks lined up, I want to demonstrate the action that you need to create to deliver the cut into the side of the wood, and that is you push forward. Can you see that action? It's just a slight push. Push the tool forward. Okay, let's get started now. It's a good idea and a good practice to let the motor get up to speed first before you actually make the cut. Okay, so that's what the cut looks like. And now we'll repeat the process on the other side. So we've got our 2 pieces of wood we're going to join. Now, before you get started, it's always a good idea to, dry fit your project first. Place the biscuit in there and line it all up. Make sure those lines are right on. Okay, so put glue. Make sure you put glue in each slot. There we go. And then repeat the process on the other side as well. It might be a nice idea just to have a small bead of glue there on the surface itself. So we're going to insert our biscuit there, and we're going to slide both pieces together. Make sure our line is nice and lined up. That's lined up very nicely, and now it's time to put a clamp on. So that's one side, and now let's get the other side. Okay, so our clamps are set. If you've got a little bit of glue oozing out the, through the surface, what you want to do is just take a rag and wipe that off before the glue sets.
That's not necessarily true. So really the best way to do it, and by the way, these are zeros. I was reading 6, but it's actually, can you see that? You can't really see it, can you? Can you see the lamello part? Sort of. Anyway, it says lamello and then it says 0. So it's a 0. So 3 sizes, 0, 10s, and 20s. When you're doing a joint like she was showing, you definitely want to glue the edges of the material, not just the lamello kerf where the football size biscuit's going into, but you want to do the edges that are contacting each other because you're gluing the whole joint. And in clamping, also, you got to be careful when you clamp that when you're clamping from the ends like that your material doesn't come up. Sometimes you have to clamp it down to do that. Hey, I want to break out for 10 minutes into a breakout room, and because I want to give I want to give Monica a chance to talk to anybody that she wants to have in a room, and then I'll have everybody else in one room. So Monica, who would you like to have in a breakout room for 10 minutes?
Well, I need to talk to Esperanza about her Friday class. So can you put me with Esperanza if she's still here?
I can.
Esperanza?
Did I make you what you need to be made?
Oh, to share screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, just click on the arrow next to the green share screen at the bottom and choose multiple participants can share at, simultaneously.
Okay, and I don't see Esperanza here.
Oh, she's here.
Oh,
Esperanza, are you here? Yes.
Is she? Oh, God. Okay, there she is. So is it just Esperanza you want to have?
Well, and then also she was telling me she's having trouble accessing her like classes in Canvas. So I wanted to see if I could help her get onto her Canvas and see what's going on with her her courses. So
Okay.
if that's okay, guys, if I can just talk with her today and then we'll come back.
I'm gonna add a room and I'm gonna assign everybody else to that room. And then we'll start this up. Oh, Hector made it. Did I get that? Hector, you made it.
Yeah, Hector just came in.
Just now? Hector?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, how's my room going? And first off, Hector, are you here? Coming in. Monica, how'd you get in this room? Oh, you know what? I didn't put you in another room. Oh, God.
I was in the wrong room. I need to go to room 1, I think.
Yes, you do.
Move
Let's
me.
see. How can I do this? How can I do this?
If you click on breakout rooms and then highlight my name, it should say move to, and you can move to room 1. Oh, sorry, someone's at my door.
Okay, move to. Good, good. Thank you.
Move to room 1.
Room 1. Okay. Okay, so now she's been invited to do that. And so you guys, oh, shoot, Monica, I think you got to do it yourself. Yeah, she's in there. Okay, so she'll come in and join. So you got to join, Monica. You're in there, but you got to somehow join yourself, I think. There you go. There she goes. Okay, so you guys have any comments or questions? Anybody there's a bunch of people not in here, but anybody there, any comments or questions on the tools we've gone over? Or, interested in those tools? Need any questions answered about them? Any comments at all about the tools we talked about and about biscuit joiners and things like that, and how important are biscuit joiners? And you notice that she was using the Chicago one. If you notice that when I went and looked at them, they were the DeWalt and that other one, Makita, were $180, and that Chicago one was $70. And it looked like it did the job to me. And you can buy carbide cutters, aftermarket cutters for them that are just as good as the ones that go in the DeWalt and the Makita. So if it was me, and I'd probably buy the $70 one for sure. So comments, and where is everybody anyway? Where'd everybody go? Interior, exterior design for the construction career spectrum. Okay, all right. I'm gonna answer Francisco. And actually, I'll just, because Francisco, you should be answer break. Okay. So Francisco asked, he had a question. I don't know if you all read it, but yes, Anthony, you should join the breakout room. You should join. So interior, exterior design, where does it fall? It's a really provocative and good question. So interior and exterior design, right? I'll make sure I got that right. Where does interior and exterior design fall in the construction career spectrum? Well, it falls mostly in the area of architectural and design, which is separate from, that having been separate from a construction trade. That having been said, where are my participants? Anyway, come on, you guys. Hey, please join room 2 unless you are Monica or Miss. So, like where I'm at, right? I've been a licensed general contractor for 50 years. Wow. 50 years. Oh man. True. 50 years. I've been a licensed general contractor for 50 years. So I have done a whole lot of, Francisco, I'm answering that question of yours about the one I saw in the chat about design, interior and exterior design professionals, right? You asked a question. I didn't see it till after a bit, but interior, exterior design. I was answering that question. It's a really good question because if someone was interested in interior and exterior design in the construction industry, then you might want to take architectural classes, design classes, things like that. On the other hand, I've had 50 years of experience in this trade, and so pretty much what I do now has a lot to do with design, interior and exterior. Now, basically, I like to leave it up to the architects and the engineers and the designers to hand me plans to work off of. But a lot of times you don't get that. A lot of times you get people waving their hands saying, I want this like that, and I want to look at, see like that. You know, you get a whole lot of people describing stuff, but what you need is a plan. And so it becomes incumbent upon me to draw plans, which is why I know how to draw. I learned how to draw in junior high school, and I hope I have a chance to show you guys the basics of scale drawing, because as you gain more experience in the industry, you will be called upon naturally to design things. It's just kind of a natural progression, right? Is the deeper you get into this, the more you will be designing things. And the beauty of when you get to that place. So I'm backing up a second. Let's say you didn't get into it as a design professional. You got into construction as a construction person. You've been there long enough where you start having ideas about how things should be done. There's no time limit. In other words, you could do this right away. You can start designing right away. If you see the need for it and you have the aptitude for it, then by all means start designing. And for me, having as much experience as I have, I am able to design to be built. Now, what I mean by that is that I have come across a whole lot of designs that are very difficult to build because they've been designed that way. Now, I don't mean designed that way on purpose, but I mean designed that way by mistake. For instance, you get things like people will, architects will call out things 50 inches by X, and they're going to be made out of plywood. Well, why would you call something 50 when if you called it 48, you could get out of a single sheet? And I've had architects design cabinet panels. These are just two things that come to mind that call for 3/8 plywood panel. There is no 3/8 plywood. There's 3/8 construction grade plywood, but it's not made. So basically they're telling you, go have it made. You can have anything made, but come on. So I like to design for things to be made. I like to design so there's less waste. You know what I mean? I like to design closer to increments that can be used. And then, then obviously there's
conventional functionality.
Absolutely. So in my mind, function always precedes form. Function, then form. But then a lot of people have it the other way. They're into form, and then the function just is what it is. So I think things should be functional, but it's a really good thing to think about when you see things that you think maybe could use some room for improvement in design. It's a good time to chime in and say, hey, well, what if we did it this way? What if it looked like that? So it's a vast field, and it's a super interesting field. And it's one that I pretty much, after 50 years of being a licensed general contractor, 50 years I've been a licensed contractor. Mostly what I do now is design. So I do project management and I do this teaching thing, but mostly I design. Like when I go home today, will I have time to do that? Or tomorrow morning, I'll finish up a design I'm doing and I'll bring it in. I'll bring it into you guys. I've got an 11 by 17. It's a kitchen I'm doing in Ventura. And it's the most fun thing that I do because I can design it to be built and I can design things into that I think need to be into it. Like for instance, I love to design kitchens because kitchens are workplaces, right? They need to work. They need to be, things need to be accessible. You need to have working surfaces and cleaning surfaces. And one of the huge things about kitchens is trash and recycle. It's amazing how many people don't build in trash and recycle. So there's a unit that I have in my kitchen that I like to sell a lot. It's made by Blum, which is a great hardware company out of West Germany. But it's a trash and recycle pullout that's got a little servo motor, so you can just touch it with your knee, nudge it, so you can have a hands full of garbage, touch it with your knee, and it pushes it all the way out. And then and it's soft close in. It's really a cool item. I love to design that into people. I love to think about where you're doing your prep work, where's the best place for trash and recycle? It's certainly not the other side of your kitchen. It wants to be, where you're making the mess. So it's a good point. And Francisco, if you're interested in design, it's a good way to go, man. It's a good way to go.
I was bringing it up on behalf of someone else, but I mean, I'm open to all possibilities because I have a knack for a wide span of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, someone else asked about it or spoke up about it, and I just wanted to bring it to
City
the
College
forefront.
has some pretty good design courses, and actually Cal Poly, they have a construction program that's made for project management, but I think they have some pretty good design courses too. But it's when you're designing, you get to say how it is. And I think that's a great way to go. See, we're getting almost out of time. So let's, I'll close this breakout room. Let's close.
Oh,
all
hey,
of
I'm
them.
back. Esperanza should be coming back too.
Okay, good. So I'm closing them all. We'll all get back together here. And I promise I won't dump us out like I did Tuesday. So anybody have any comments or questions about the stuff that we've been talking about this morning? We've got about 3 minutes to talk about it. Did you see any tools you found are interesting or that you didn't understand? I want to get through PowerPlane. I've got these jigs, these boring jigs and butt jigs I think are really interesting. And they're a little higher up the chain in finished carpentry, but we are into advanced finished carpentry. Drill bits. Oh my gosh, I got a bunch of stuff to tell you about drill bits, which I will, and the kinds of drill bits there are. I'll have brought my drill on Tuesday, and I had hoped to get to nail guns and staplers, work light spans, blowers, but anyway, there'll be, we're going to go through a whole bunch more tools, and then we're going to get to probably my favorite part next week, which is the stationary power tools. And that's all on your Canvas. And by the way, Canvas, just in a couple of minutes we got left. I don't know if Monica, you got Esperanza squared away, but in Canvas.
Yeah, she can't see her classes, but she said like from last week on Thursday, she could see all her classes published, but now she can't. So I don't know if they're, because we started advanced finish and advanced framing, if there are different course numbers or it's the same course number.
No,
the CRN is the same.
They're different course numbers. So I'm going to show you what mine looks like.
Okay, so that might be the issue. She might not be in the next class.
So if we go to, if I go to my dashboard, so you all know how to get in Canvas, right? You go to, I know you probably all do, but you log in, go to your pipeline portal, and then what's going to come up is the Canvas icon. So click on it up here. Now you are in Canvas. You're in your own personal dashboard of Canvas. Now I've got these courses as published. This one right here is the one we're doing now. the first module is this one right here. And by the way, I've been trying to put an image up there and I can't get it to come up. I don't know why. These are, next week we get into, can't remember, these numbers don't mean a lot to me, but not next week, but the week following, we get into, I think it's this one. I think that's my construction plumbing one. And then I think this is the last one, the last week of classes, I get into intermediate electrical. But it may be that she doesn't, I don't know actually what's happened, because right now I've published this course. It should be up, if she's registered for the course, it should be on her dashboard. And when you go to your dashboard and click on the course that we're in, this is what you're going to see. On the home page, you're going to see these modules. And I'll be adding to them. I'll be adding to a week 3. We're right here right now. We're in week 2. Oh, I'm sorry. We're in week 1 of this module, which is this 67420, which is supposed to be intermediate finished carpentry. We're still in week 1. There's our date. That's what we did. I will put up the recording of this class right where you see it there from Tuesday. It will be right there below Simpson Strong Tie when it gets done recording. Probably today, but if I have to leave, I won't get it up for a day or two when I come back to the classroom. So hopefully that helps you all. If any of you are having trouble with Canvas, but they have all kinds of tutorials about Canvas. It's a pretty well-used thing, well-used teaching tool. And that brings us to noon straight up. So if I don't have any other comments or questions, then I am going to say goodbye. Monica, would you stick around for half a second? Do you have a second? Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and I'll say goodbye to everybody else. See you all next Tuesday, the 13th. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye, guys.
Enjoy the weather.
Bye.
Enjoy the
Bye.
weather.
Thank
See you
you.
all later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Rodney,
Hey, Francisco.
I'm still in the process of looking to buy a car,
Okay.
but I am honestly interested in helping you. I guess helping you like with the camera, if that's
Really?
something you need.
Okay, cool, dude. If you can get yourself down here, I'll let you know when I can really use it, because I do some videography when I'm doing live classes, and me going back and forth, to the tripod, it sucks. So if you're willing to do it, when do you think you might have transportation?
I quite possibly next Thursday for sure. I could probably borrow my brother's car.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Say for next Tuesday, I'd have to ask if he's
Well,
got something
keep
going
in
on.
touch, and let's figure. I won't figure Tuesday, but I'll put you on as a maybe for Thursday, and just let me know if you think you can make it down here on Thursday.
Okay,
Okay.
will do.
Yeah, cool. I would like that. That'd be great.
All right.
So in the meantime, see you Tuesday.
Yeah.
See you Tuesday, Hector.
Francisco.
See you Tuesday, Brian. See you
Bye, Monica.
Tuesday, Israel.
Have a nice weekend, guys.
Yeah, you
See
guys
ya.
have a great weekend.
Bye.
See you, Hector. See you, Brian. See you, DMQRWDSF.
That's Jose's friend.
Hey, Hector.
Bye,
you there?
Hector.
Hi. Yeah.
Hector, hey,
I
Hector, how late were you today?
What? Was
What time did you come in?
yeah. I don't really know the time exactly.
So Hector, would you please try to be here at 9 o'clock, because that's when we start?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, good. Then I'm gonna hold you to it, and it's just a simple request. So I'll see you next Tuesday at 9 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask if there's anything I could do to in a way make up or
You
keep
know,
me.
I will
Okay.
take that under advisement. Right now, you're doing fine. I'm totally lightened up on the whole tardiness stuff. So as long as you keep in communication with me, we're good. So if you come
Okay.
in late, just say, hey, I came in late. But ideally, the best thing for you to do, this is not a graded class. Your grade is not going to suffer because you're not getting graded. But the best thing for you to do, if you know you're going to be late, is just shoot me a text or a phone call. You guys all have my number now. You have my number, Hector?
Yes, you actually gave it to me yesterday.
Okay, good. So just shoot me a text if you're going to be late, and then I know, and then you're covered. And you can tell me why you're going to be late. That always helps. And try not to say, I'm going to be late because I feel like being late. That's not going to cut it with me. Tell me, give me some reason, even if you got to make one up, okay? It'll make me feel better.
All right. Well, seems
Okay.
reasonable.
Thanks, Hector. See you Tuesday,
Again,
man.
bye.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. So Jeanette called me, right?
Yeah, what did she say?
Oh, you know, she's what a doll. You and Jeanette are cut from the same cloth, I swear to God.
Yeah, she's nice.
Yeah, she's really a nice person. And she, you know, she said, I guess Francisco talked to her, and you know, it's like the Francisco situation. So I told her, you know, I'm gonna take the high road with Francisco, and I'm gonna let all the BS, the buttons that got pushed with me go, because I'm able to do that. And it looks like I'm being successful.
Yeah, I think he's ready to move forward in it. And it seems like he was, you know, participating and there was no issue today. So
Animosity or weirdness from him, or, you know, he wasn't challenging me. He was, you know, and he's really the most on top of a guy there, really. I mean, he's like, his mind is really, you know, so I hated having this BS with him, but I'm telling you, it's really upset me, like for days.
yeah.
So
I could see it. I think like Jeanette was asking me, like, she called me last night. Well, I was in class. She called me. I had to call her back. And she was like, what do you think? And I think, well, I think Rodney was really upset also. Like, I think like you called me after class on Thursday, and then we talked about it on Friday, and then Tuesday happened. So I think that's good that we can move forward. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I think Francisco showed today and you guys communicated well. I don't think there's an issue if you guys, you know.
No, I think we're good. I think we're good. And really, I'm going to give him special attention too. After my conversation with Pat, just because he obviously needs it and he obviously wants it. And, you know, and it's the thing that I have held fast to in this last couple of days, I've been sort of agonizing over the Francisco situation, is that he's just my current teacher. He's one of my current teachers. You know, the things I have problems with are opportunities for me to grow and learn. And he's just, what's he teaching me? It's like, no, I do it this way. Well, wait, this is bugging somebody. So do I really need to do it this way? No, I really don't need to do it this way. I'm fine, whatever. You know what I mean? It's that loss of flexibility is a real drag. And it seems to be a natural way that human beings go, as we get less flexible in every way. And it costs. It costs the quality of your life big time. So I'm totally over it, really. And
good, that's great.
Yeah, because you know, I watched him. I watched him on the recording last week.
Yeah.
This has all been recorded. It's all
all right. I think you can do how to edit the recordings.
No, how do you edit the damn recordings?